Hey guys, I'm going to do a video real quick, this one for the UFC Fight Night coming up this weekend. We've got 4 fights to cover, so let's get right into it. And we're going to start off with Brendan Allen against Bruno Silva. Now, in my opinion, out of the 4 fights that I picked to cover, I think this one's going to be the most interesting one because both of these guys are kind of opposites to each other. You know, Bruno Silva, he's 23-8. 20 of those wins come by knockout, the other 3 by decision. He's never got a submission in his life, and he's not quite the best on the ground. Meanwhile, Brendan Allen is not the most polished striker in his division, but he is 9-2 inside of the UFC. He's been a very active fighter since making his UFC debut in 2019. And unlike Bruno Silva, he's a very big submission threat. He's got 12 submissions throughout his career. And for this one, really, it's a matter of whether or not Bruno can keep it on the feet or Brendan can take it to the ground. Obviously, if it stays on the feet, Bruno has a really good chance to win this fight, whether it be by a knockout or by a decision. And Bruno was also the second opponent that Alex Pereira had ever had inside of the UFC, and he was the first guy to really test Alex Pereira. And he even won a round against Alex Pereira on a couple of the judges' scorecards. He ended up losing the fight, but I thought it was very impressive how he was able to test Alex. And obviously, if Brendan Allen gets it to the ground, I think Brendan's going to have such a big grappling advantage, he probably will get the submission. And obviously, Brendan can handle himself to an extent on the feet, but I feel like the game plan for him is really get this guy to the ground. Because like I said, that's where he's going to have the biggest advantage. That's where I think he's going to have the best chance to win the fight. And I think Brendan Allen's going to take this one. So for this one, I've got Brendan Allen. And on to David Onama against Gabriel Santos. Gabriel Santos has only had 1 fight inside of the UFC so far. He lost his debut. But before making his UFC debut, he was able to go undefeated 10-0 with 3 knockouts, 4 submissions, and 3 decisions. He has shown to be pretty well-rounded before coming to the UFC, but on the ground, I think is where he's going to be at his best. I'm just not sure if that's enough to beat David Onama. Especially when you look at him on the feet, he does show that he puts himself into vulnerable positions more often than he should. And as we know, David Onama is a monster on the feet. He's a great striker, and he can handle himself on the ground too. Every single one of David Onama's wins come by way of finish with 6 knockouts and 4 submissions. And on top of that, I feel that David Onama is going to have a big power advantage in this fight, along with the striking advantage, and I think he can handle himself on the ground. So for this one, I'm going to take David Onama. And for the co-main event, we've got a good one, Amanda Ribas against Maycee Barber. Very excited to see how this one plays out. Maycee Barber's been on a 4-fight win streak. She's 7-2 inside of the UFC, and she seems to have a lot of momentum going behind her right now, but I'm not sure if it'll be enough to beat Amanda Ribas. Amanda Ribas is very well-rounded. She definitely prefers to strike, and I feel like she's going to have the advantage just about everywhere in this fight. And while Ribas might not have the same kind of momentum that Maycee Barber has going her way, I think on the feet she's got better footwork. She seems to have a better ability to get in and out of range, and on the ground she's got better grappling credentials than Maycee Barber does. And we've seen Maycee Barber struggle on the ground against certain opponents. And it seems like Amanda Ribas has the ability to go just about any route that she wants to in this fight. I have no doubt about it. She's going to want to stand and strike with her though. And I feel like Amanda Ribas is going to have the advantage just about everywhere in this fight. So for this one, I'm going to take Amanda Ribas. And now for the main event, this one's going to be really good. I think it's going to be a fun one. We've got Josh Emmett fighting Ilia Topuria. Josh Emmett obviously coming off of a big loss to Yair Rodriguez in a fight where if he would have won, he'd be the next guy fighting Volk. But before losing to Yair Rodriguez, he was on a 5-fight win streak, including names like Michael Johnson, Shane Burgos, Mirsad Bektic, Dan Ige, and Calvin Kattar. He's got 6 KOs, 2 subs, and 10 decisions throughout his career, with an 18-3 record. Every loss he's taken as a pro has come inside of the UFC, and it really seems like he only loses to the best of the best, but more importantly, it seems he loses to big strikers. And I would consider Ilia Topuria to be kind of a big striker. Obviously, he's got a lot of power. He seems to love standing on the feet, but he can definitely handle himself on the ground. With 4 KOs and 8 submissions in his career, only 1 of his fights have gone to a decision, and obviously he's undefeated, so he has won every fight that he's had with a 13-0 record. But along with that power and the really good striking, he's got great takedown defense, and he's also got quite a bit of aggressiveness. He will choose to go for the finish every time that it's presented in this fight, and in any fight he will do that. And it seems like every single fight that he's had inside the UFC, it's like he's got something to prove, like he's got a chip on his shoulder. And I feel like this fight is no different. He's going to come into this fight just like that, I think. This is his first main event inside of the UFC, so maybe there will be a little bit of added pressure because of that. But I feel like he's going to be able to push it off to the side and go in there and fight the same way that he normally does. Now on the ground, Josh Emmett may have the advantage, but like I said, Ilya's got great takedown defense. Along with 8 submissions, he can definitely handle himself on the ground. And I've seen him be able to handle himself on the ground against guys who you would think is going to outclass him on the ground. And I really like Josh Emmett, but for this one, I don't know if he can win this one. I picked against him when he fought Yair Rodriguez, and I did that because Yair is such a big striker. I feel that was his biggest weak point, is on the feet. And now he's coming into this fight with Ilya Topuria, which I think is also a really great striker. And I think Ilya's going to be able to take advantage of that. And I feel like he might even get a finish in this one. So for this fight, I'm going to take Ilya Topuria. And to recap, I will be taking Brendan Allen, David Onama, Amanda Hebas, and Ilya Topuria. And it looks like that's all I got for y'all. Hit like, subscribe, and all that.